Hello, my name is James Williams Jr. Welcome to Kung Fu Habit number 2. If you've been watching all my other videos, this is like my 5th, 6th, or even 7th video that I have been practicing to do my speech. It has to be 15 minutes long, so now counting this first minute of me talking, we're going to try this one more time. And if my class is watching, you ought to know the stress that I put myself under trying to film this thing, alright? Plus, since I'm going to be doing this tomorrow, you should also know that I'm probably not going to be reading off these cards like talking about it, but they're there to keep me on point with my subject. Alright, so let's go. My name is James Williams Jr. I am doing a report for this class in domestic violence, and this subject is called bullying. My title of my project is called Bullying from Kindergarten to College. I chose that as my title and my subject because I have been bullied all my life. Basically, from kindergarten to college. So, in a nutshell, that title describes my life at its greatest glory. Alright? I've always been a victim of bullying, even though I'm a martial artist. I've learned the things that I can do and the things that I shouldn't do because of legal ramifications. Therefore, I've had to take it. I've had to take a lot of bullying. But also, as I go into detail with this, you should also know that, sadly, as a child, I have been forced into street fighting from the age of 6 to the age of 12. And I learned martial arts at 7 to 12, and sadly also, I gained a bloodlust for fighting, and I didn't just like it, I loved it, and I thrived at it, and I went undefeated for the 6 years of fighting, in the streets. No one's really keeping track of that, but I went undefeated, and as a martial artist, that's a good thing and a bad thing at the same time. Alright, so let us begin with the report now that you have a little bit of information about my life that I shouldn't have been so willing to share. We're going to start off with the definition of a bully. A bully is a person who causes or threatens people in some form or another. I haven't figured out why it says causes, but that's just the definition that I found. C-A-U-S-E-S, causes. Okay, the definition of bullying, which is the action that the bully does. The definition of bullying, I have two. A, bullying is a form of taunting, teasing, as well as threatening to bring harm to someone mentally or physically with acts of brutality and violence. And definition B, intimidation through menacing and terrifying threats. So, you can see that's not a good thing. So let's move on. We're going to go to the styles and the types of bullying. So, A, childhood bullying. Childhood bullying, basically the age groups of from 5 to 17. I chose to stop at 17 because by the time you're 18, you're legally an adult and you can no longer be classified as a child. Does not mean that you won't be a victim of bullying. It just means that you're no longer a child. Alright? Adult bullying, which goes from the age of 18 to infinity and beyond, because after you're 18, you're legally an adult, and bullying doesn't really stop. It takes a sidestep, or maybe it's not as noticed because it's now adult picking. It's the same damn thing, but, it just depends on how thick your skin is. Okay, so we're going to go to something a little bit more personal to me, which is racial bullying. Racial bullying specifically sounds just like what I just said. Racial bullying affects most of the time you're being bullied because of your race, your ethnic background, or your cultural differences between you and the person who is bullying you. In other words, let's say you're Chinese and you celebrate Chinese New Year as well as you're American, so you celebrate American New Year, and some people who are not Asian don't understand how that works, or in my case, you're Native American and there's certain festivals and things that you celebrate, not Thanksgiving, but you get the message. Anyway, because Thanksgiving used to be my favorite holiday because it was the main thing that tied me to my Native American roots, right up until I found out other commercials of the truth about Thanksgiving. That's neither here or there. I just wanted to put that in there to kill a little bit of time. Okay, so we're going to jump down to workplace bullying. That's D on this list. Bullying does happen on jobs and at the workplace, but it's mostly reported 20% of the time. In other words, the other 80% probably goes unreported unless it falls into the form of sexual harassment, because that goes reported way over the 20%. You know. Finally, on that types of bullying, we're going to go with cyberbullying, because cyberbullying is probably now the most popular bullying, and it is the leading cause of teen suicide and some adult suicide. I'll go deeper into that as we move on. Okay, signs of being bullied. All of these explanations are basically self-explanatory, but I'm going to give you what I can. I'm not a doctor, so you're going to have to just go with what I give you. Hopefully the pamphlets that you have at your desk will, get you more insight on that, because I didn't write it. I had a hard time going to find it, but, I got what I could get, minus the internet, because I'm not a tech person. So let's start with behavior changes. That would be the first thing. I'm going to deep dive into that in my next part or whatever. High anxiety, mental as well as physical health decline. Now, the reason why I don't have any definitions is because there's no point in me repeating myself when I get to that later on in this thing. Okay, how to tell if your child is being bullied. Bedwetting. Bedwetting. If your child is normally not the type of kid to wet the bed, but out of the blue starts wetting the bed, then it's more likely a sign of him being bullied or your child being bullied, unless it is a medical condition. Both should be checked out thoroughly, but unless it is a medical condition, it is one of the leading signs of your child being bullied. 2. Behavior changes. It's self-explanatory, but you know how your child would normally behave. For those who are parents, I'm not a parent, but you know how your child will normally behave. If their behavior changes in the slightest form, rather they come home and raised or whatever, it's more than likely they're either being bullied, because kids don't just go to school and get mad. Things happen to make them mad. Alright, the eating habits. It's also self-explanatory. If your kid no longer likes their favorite food, like macaroni and cheese, and they decide, well, maybe I'm just going to try eating this damn asparagus, or some things that they may think, for the love of another word, would probably kill them so that the pain will stop, their food habits will change. That never happened to me because I was just blessed to have food. Okay? And I knew it because I grew up in the projects. And anybody who's grown up in the projects, they know you eat what's put on your plate or you don't eat. Simple as that, because sometimes there's not always milk for your bowl of cereal. Sometimes you have to use water. Things happen. Poor sleeping habits. Again, poor sleeping habits can also be medical. So it's in there as a form of knowing that your child is being bullied, but at the same time, it can also be a medical condition. So, kind of want to put that on the sometimey line, because sometimes, it could be medical. Alright, E. Poor grades. I'm not going to say this is medical. I will definitely say this is probably a form of bullying, because if you have a straight A student who drops to a D out of the blue, or a C, not down to a B, but like straight drop to a D, this could be a sign of them being bullied in school or anywhere, and you might want to look into that. Okay, usually high stress mentally. Kids have stress. Now, whether you like it or not, kids do have stress, but if their stress is like over the top stress, if they're stressing over things that are not big to you, but super small to you, and maybe super big to them, you probably want to check into that. You probably want to pull them to the side and have them talk about it, and if not, you have them talk to a counselor, because that might be the only way you'll get to the bottom of it. Moving on. Unusual bruises, cuts, and scrapes. These are self-explanatory, but you notice what your kid looks like when they come home. If your kid went out the door, unless you leave before they leave, you pretty much know what your kid looks like on a daily basis. So if you notice that your kid has a black eye, that's not something you're going to turn a blind eye to. You're going to notice that, and you're going to want to talk to your child about it. But you want to do it in a way that doesn't make them feel ashamed or ostracized or whatever. But you're going to notice some cuts. You're going to notice some bruises. You're going to notice some scrapes. And if your kid's not into sports and they're scraping up their arms, or they come home with bruises and handprints on their face, then you know something's up. Alright? The most important one here on the list is the letter H. If your kid is thinking or talking about suicide, that is the biggest red flag that you can have that your child is probably being bullied. I would also say that it might be mental, but more than likely it's probably being bullied, especially if they have a good home and everything is hunky-dory and they pretty much spoil. It's 9 times out of 10 if they're talking or thinking about suicide, then it's something going on that you should probably get them some help for ASAP. Finally, running away from home. Since I haven't had the best of childhood, I'll be the first to tell you I have attempted to run away from home plenty of times. And mostly it was because I missed my dad, but otherwise it was because sometimes you get tired of fighting. And I just wanted to go away, you know. So, attempted to run away, but like they say, your child gets hungry, they come back home. I got hungry, I went back home. I didn't ask any questions, I went home. You know. Okay, so, the whats and the whys that lead to bullying. So, we're going to do this as correctly as I think I can do this, because it's also kind of repetitive. They're having problems at home. If the bully's having problems at home, they're going to come to school and take out their aggressions on other people. Which leads us to schools. If the bullies are having problems at school, say henceforth bigger bullies are bullying them, so they're going to bully somebody smaller than them, they're, repeating the cycle. Now, the one true fact I can say is that, it's actually two true facts on here. One, they have no discipline. So if they don't have discipline, if they don't have anybody telling them that they're doing wrong to other people, then they're more than likely not going to know they're doing wrong, or they're not going to care, which leads to D. Some people are just inherently mean as the devil himself and do it because they just can. I've been a victim of people who bully because they can. In the 11th grade, my biology teacher, I will not give her name. I don't care if she's still breathing. She is one of the women that I would refer to as a female dog, because I normally don't call women that. I have respect for women because I was raised properly on some level or another. I have manners. But, she kind of let this crap happen from from September to the following May of school. So I went every day being bullied by members of the football, basketball, and whatever other team they were at CHS, and she did nothing. So that's how we got there. Now, we're going to go to places and locations of bullying. I'm going to start with their environments. The home, the neighborhood, the people in the neighborhood, the people in the home, schools, etc. And since we're going to schools, let's go on to schools. Schools on every level have bullying in some form or another. So from kindergarten to college, you better believe there's some bullying going on. Just because you doesn't see it doesn't mean it's not happening. We're going back to job workplaces. Okay, yes, again, there are places at work where people do bullying, and again, it's not really something that you can legally do anything about. Freedom of speech and all. And finally, other places that you may not know that there's bullying happening, and you probably know now because everybody's got cell phones and they're everywhere. So those other places are airports, bus stations, train stations, parks, etc. Now, the tragic conclusions and results of bullying. A. There's not a lot of legal action that can be taken against the bully in most school systems from state to state. However, there is a small amount of damage control. Removing the students, bad students, placing them in alternative schools, but then that just becomes a fight for supremacy, as most alternative school teachers can tell you. If you put a bunch of bullies who want to dominate in a room, it's kind of hard to find out who wants to be there because they should be there, or who wants to be there to try to be the king of the class. And then there's suspension and expulsion, because those are temporary solutions. B. Sadly, bullying seems to be increasingly rising in most schools from state to state, and it still goes rarely reported. C. Not many people are immune to the victimization of bullying, no matter what type of bullying. Because bullying is an issue that is not just locally, but it is also globally. The sad truth is that bullying has been one of the leading causes in the uprising of childhood, teenage, as well as adult suicide rates. As a result, it is about 10% to 25% and getting worse. And finally, extra note on bullying. So due to the upgrade, because I'm bringing that on back around to cyberbullying now, due to the upgrade of human society and technology, as well as our easy access to get it and use it, the high-tech form of cyberbullying, although it has come down a little bit, or it is not being reported, is also another major cause that is also playing a role in the increasing suicide rate amongst all people. Any questions? Like, how long is this damn report?